After Diane Keaton's death, a shocking truth surfaced. How she once saved Al Pacino's life at a time when he was ready to leave it all behind. In the early 1970s, a young man from East Harlem was rewriting Hollywood's definition of greatness. Al Pacino, intense, magnetic, unpredictable, was not just an actor. He was a force of nature. From The Godfather and Serpico to Dog Day Afternoon, Pacino's performances carved through the screen, capturing something raw and unfiltered about the American soul. By the time he reached his mid-30s, his name was already etched alongside the giants: Brando, De Niro, Nicholson. But behind that brilliance, there was fatigue, a weight, a man burning too fast, too bright. And then there was Diane Keaton, the woman who saw through it all. Born Diane Hall in Los Angeles, she entered the world not with the polish of a Hollywood starlet, but with the curiosity of an artist who saw the world through tilted angles. She wasn't born into privilege, nor into the machine of fame. Her mother, a homemaker who nurtured creative dreams of her own, filled their household with imagination. Her father, a civil engineer, brought structure to her world, a structure she would later learn to subvert through her art. Los Angeles in the 1950s was a paradox, a city of sunshine and shadow, where the American dream shimmered just beyond the smog. Diane grew up among palm trees and billboards, absorbing both the glamour and the emptiness of a culture obsessed with image. She was quirky even then, restless, eccentric, and fascinated by human behavior. She didn't fit the mold of the conventional beauty or the obedient girl. And that was precisely her gift. She carried within her a kind of radiant awkwardness, the spark of someone who found beauty not in perfection, but in imperfection, who saw charm in chaos. Diane Hall would become Diane Keaton, and that transformation would mirror the story of a woman coming into her own power, not by conforming, but by embracing her contradictions. Her journey began on the stage. After attending Santa Ana College and then the neighborhood playhouse in New York, Keaton found herself drawn to the energy of theater. The city in the late 1960s was electric, turbulent with art, politics, and change. Broadway was alive with voices challenging the old order, and Diane, still in her 20s, was hungry to be part of it. She joined the original cast of Hair, the rock musical that embodied the counterculture movement. Yet even there she stood out. While the show celebrated freedom and rebellion, Diane refused to perform nude, an early sign of her quiet defiance and individuality. She didn't rebel loudly. She simply did things her own way. That stubborn independence caught the eye of a young playwright and actor named Woody Allen. Their collaboration on the stage version of Play It Again, Sam in 1969 became the beginning of something remarkable. On stage, they were magnetic. Allen's neurotic charm balanced by Keaton's offbeat radiance. Offstage, their creative chemistry deepened into a relationship, both romantic and artistic. When the play was adapted into a film in 1972, Keaton carried her performance onto the big screen with effortless authenticity. She wasn't acting like the traditional leading lady. She was being herself. There was no artifice in her smile, no polish in her speech, just warmth, humor, and emotional truth. It was the start of a revolution, one that Diane herself might not have recognized yet. The era of perfect Hollywood women was fading. The world was ready for someone who could be awkward and luminous at once. Her rise mirrored his, Al Pacino, the son of Italian immigrants from the Bronx, who was carving his own path through cinema's new wave. Pacino's intensity was almost mythic. He brought a rawness to acting that felt alive, dangerous even. In him, Keaton found a creative opposite, someone whose emotional ferocity matched her playful curiosity. When Francis Ford Coppola began assembling the cast of The Godfather, 1972, fate placed them side by side. The film, adapted from Mario Puzo's novel, was an epic about family, power, and moral decay. But beneath its crime saga, it was also a love story between Michael Corleone and Kay Adams. Kay was the outsider, the moral compass of the film's dark world. And Diane Keaton, with her natural empathy and emotional intelligence, understood her completely. She brought to Kay a mixture of grace and confusion, love and disappointment. Her eyes, wide and searching, became the audience's eyes, watching as Michael's soul was consumed by ambition. On screen, they were magnetic opposites. Pacino's Michael was silent, simmering, coiled with tension. Keaton's Kay was open, vulnerable, desperate to believe in love even as it slipped away. Their chemistry was not fiery or flamboyant. It was quietly devastating. Off-screen, their connection deepened. The boundaries between performance and life blurred. Two restless spirits, both navigating fame, both yearning for meaning, found understanding in each other. They were in many ways mirrors, reflecting each other's loneliness, ambition, and longing for authenticity. Were they lovers? Friends? Soulmates? Perhaps all of those and something else too. Keaton and Pacino's relationship defied definition. They were intensely private people, artists who valued mystery over spectacle. While their relationship was romantic for a time, it was also intellectual and emotional, built on mutual respect and fascination. Keaton later described Pacino as the great love of her life, yet also as someone she could never truly possess. There was something elusive about him. The same quality that made him a great actor also made him difficult to hold on to. He was consumed by his craft, and so was she. But what they shared was rare, a bond forged in the crucible of creativity. They understood the loneliness that comes from living for art, the strange solitude of people who can touch millions, yet struggle to be known by one. For Keaton, love was never about perfection. It was about recognition. In Pacino, she saw a soul as restless as hers. As their personal and professional lives intertwined, Keaton's career entered a golden era. The 1970s were a time of transformation in American cinema. Realism was replacing glamour, and characters were finally allowed to be human. Diane became the face of this new authenticity. In Annie Hall, 1977, she gave a performance that changed everything. The film, written and directed by Woody Allen, wasn't just a romantic comedy. It was a love letter to individuality. Keaton's Annie was awkward, charming, layered with contradictions, and deeply real. She dressed like herself, spoke like herself, and made imperfection beautiful. The role earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, but it was more than a professional triumph. It was a cultural shift. Annie Hall wasn't a fantasy of femininity. She was a reflection of the real women of the era. Uncertain, intelligent, funny, self-searching. Through that role, Keaton became an icon not of glamour, but of truth. She showed that a woman could be strong without being hard, vulnerable without being weak, and brilliant without apology. Off-screen, however, her personal life remained private and introspective. The same woman who seemed so open on camera guarded her inner world fiercely. Fame never seduced her. It merely offered a stage on which to question it. In The Godfather Part II, 1974, and later Part III, 1990, the evolution of Kay and Michael's relationship mirrored the shifting tides of Keaton and Pacino's own connection. By the time they reunited for the final film, nearly 2 decades had passed. Both had lived, loved, changed. Yet when they stood opposite each other on set, something timeless lingered, the echo of who they had been, and the unspoken understanding that some connections never fade, even when life moves on. In interviews, Keaton often reflected on that connection with warmth, not regret. She spoke of Pacino not as a lost love, but as a profound part of her story, someone who helped her understand the complexity of intimacy, distance, and self-respect. The camera captured that truth. In Part 3, when Kay looks at Michael with sorrow and tenderness, it isn't just acting, it's history, emotion distilled into art. What made Diane Keaton so captivating was her paradox. She was confident yet uncertain, luminous yet grounded, private yet expressive. She didn't chase the Hollywood ideal, she quietly redefined it. Her androgynous fashion, loose suits, bowler hats, layers of personality rather than makeup, became part of her artistic identity. Her choices challenged the boundaries of femininity long before it became mainstream to do so. In a world obsessed with control, Keaton embraced spontaneity. In an industry built on illusion, she championed honesty. Her performances in films like Reds, 1981, Baby Boom, 1987, and Marvin's Room, 1996, showed the breadth of her emotional intelligence. She could play lovers, mothers, rebels, or dreamers. but always as herself, never as a product of Hollywood design. As the years passed, Keaton's artistry deepened rather than dimmed. She became a filmmaker, a photographer, an author, a chronicler of beauty in imperfection. Her memoirs are filled with humor and self-awareness, never self-pity. She adopted 2 children as a single mother in her 50s, proving that love and family don't follow conventional timelines. Her life became a testament to freedom, the freedom to define oneself at any age, in any way. And through it all, she never lost her spark, that mischievous laugh, that tilted smile, that refusal to take herself too seriously. They became her signature. When she looks back on her career, she often credits the people who shaped her: Woody Allen for believing in her comedic talent, and Al Pacino for inspiring her emotional truth. Their love, whatever its form, was real in its impact. It made her art deeper. Behind the Hollywood lights, Keaton remained an observer, someone who found stories in the overlooked corners of life. She collected old photographs of strangers, fascinated by the mystery of their faces. She restored homes, seeing beauty in what others discarded. She photographed architectural decay and the poetry of aging. In many ways, her fascination with impermanence mirrored her approach to love and art. Nothing lasts forever, and that, to her, was what made it beautiful. She once said, "I'm attracted to people who are a little bit out of control." Perhaps that's why she was drawn to Pacino, an artist of extremes, whose intensity mirrored her own curiosity. Yet she learned something from that too, that loving someone doesn't always mean holding on. Sometimes it means recognizing the moment for what it is: fleeting, but real. By the mid-1980s, the flame that had fueled Pacino's career was dying out. His film Revolution, 1985, a grueling, ambitious historical epic, flopped catastrophically. Critics savaged it. Audiences stayed away. For a man who had built his life around art, it was more than a professional setback. It was a collapse of identity. Pacino stopped taking roles, stopped reading scripts. He retreated from Hollywood altogether, disillusioned, exhausted, and in his own words, done. He thought it was over, and maybe it would have been, if not for her. They weren't together anymore. The romance had faded, but not the care. Keaton saw what the world could not: a man slipping away from his purpose. She visited him, checked on him, challenged him. "What are you doing?" she asked. "You're Al Pacino. You belong in this—" Then she handed him a script. "Sea of Love." "This is your picture," she told him. Cut to Pacino's Esquire interview audio clip, archival style. "Well, Sea of Love came because I was together with Diane Keaton at the time, and she was concerned. She said, 'This is your picture.' And I thought, maybe she's right." Those words, simple as they were, would change everything. For the first time in 4 years, Al Pacino stepped onto a film set. The cameras rolled, the energy returned. Sea of Love wasn't just another movie, it was his resurrection. The noir thriller earned him rave reviews, a Golden Globe nomination, and something no critic could measure: his joy. Voiceover, calm and reflective. From that point on, Pacino never stopped. Heat, Scent of a Woman, The Insider, The Irishman. Every performance, every new chapter, all trace back to the moment Diane Keaton refused to let him fade away. Their relationship was never simple. They loved deeply, argued fiercely, drifted apart, and yet they never truly let go. Diane once called him the love of her life. Pacino called her the one who made everything make sense. It wasn't about fame or nostalgia. It was about understanding. About 2 artists who shared the same wound, the fear of disappearing, and the miracle of being truly seen. And then a shocking truth surfaced. After Diane Keaton's passing, friends close to Al Pacino revealed what he had rarely spoken about in public: the moment she saved him. He had been ready to quit everything, not just acting, everything, and she, through love and instinct, pulled him back from that edge. She didn't do it for Hollywood. She did it because she saw his light dimming, and she couldn't bear to let it go out. That was her secret gift, invisible to the audience but eternal in its impact. Today, in his mid-80s, Al Pacino continues to appear on screen, still searching, still exploring, still alive in every frame. And when he speaks of Diane Keaton, there's a quiet reverence in his voice. Because behind every legend, there's someone who refused to let them fall. Diane Keaton's laughter still echoes through her films, her spirit stitched into the very fabric of American cinema. But her most profound masterpiece may have been saving the man who once played Michael Corleone. She was his anchor when the storm raged, his reminder that art and life were still worth fighting for. And though the curtain may have fallen for Diane Keaton, her influence lives on in every word, every performance, and every moment Al Pacino steps into the light once more. For Diane, who saved a legend by simply believing in him.